Alright, we're going to start with a non-polarized capacitor. There's no particular reason for starting with, but a lot of them in the vibrato circuit cause problems, so we'll start there. Being non-polarized, and the ones you get in the kit say they're 10 microfarads BP. That stands for bipolar, which is the same as non-polarized. But in any case, you're gonna remove the capacitor first, or at least the old one anyway. And then what you're going to do is you're going to replace it with the new bipolar capacitor. Now I want to make you note that there's this run goes over here, and this doesn't occur in all cases. You see, there's two leads here closer. That's because Rhodes used two different types of capacitors over the years. One was a stand-up like the one we're using, in other words a radial, and the other was an axial, which is the one I removed. So you can do this with it, and then since it's bipolar, it can go in either way without regard to polarity. And we're going to close up that little hole. We're going to trim our leads, because we don't want them shorting out to anything. Alright, that takes care of a bipolar one. Now supposing we wanted to replace a polarized capacitor, and we'll choose this one on the other end of the board. This is 100 microfarads. Please note that one side is marked plus, and you should not get that confused in any way. It won't go over well. The capacitor is removed and unsoldered just as you would any other, but you make notation that the plus was this end. And you don't want to reverse these because they can explode. And then what you'll do is you'll take the capacitor, which is a radial one, form the leads, and reinsert it into the original holes. You can bend that over so that the part won't fall out when you turn the board upside down. Solder it. Clip off the excess lead. And you're now in a position to have changed a polarized capacitor. And all you simply have to do is repeat the process for each capacitor electrolytic on the board. And by the way, this little black one over here is a tantalum, which is going to be replaced by an electrolytic, 1 microfarad, and this end is plus. All right, a tip that, by the way, in case you are changing these capacitors, a tip you might want to use is, for example, to take a small pencil or a pen or a marker and mark the board with a plus before you remove the capacitor, to remind you that the capacitor is polarized and it must face a particular direction. Also, too, on almost all capacitors, this one's got a gold stripe with a minus on it. Some have a stripe with a plus on it. But if it's not the minus lead, then this longer wire is always considered positive. And that's how you can tell before you put them in. One more thing. When you get the kit of parts from us, you're going to make a notation that say The capacitors that are bipolar in the vibrato were 5 microfarads, and the ones we sent you for the vibrato were 10 microfarads. There's a reason. We have found that over the years, the capacitors tend to change value, and not in the direction where they increase but decrease. Second of all, we've had a number of complaints from people who say that the vibrato does not switch back and forth slow enough. In order to address both of these issues, we increased the value to 10 microfarads from 5 microfarads. There is no harm to the circuit. It will still operate, but the vibrato will go slower. Alright, one last capacitor to go. We've even changed the .22s. They're not in your kit, but someday they might be. They're usually not a problem, but this particular board was unusually filthy. And so therefore we're going to remove this 100 microfarad, and its plus is toward the center of the board. There we go. And we're going to discard it. We're going to form the leads on a new capacitor, and then we're going to insert it. There we go. And then we're going to solder up the connection, cut off the excess lead.